The House will come back to order. Members, we have a procedural matter that we need to deal with, and Chair is going to ask, first off, Senate Bill 347. This was that captive insurance bill that we passed, where we had the Jeopardy moment with the questions. It's been brought to the Chair's attention that there actually are some technical adjustments that are going to have to be made to that bill. So the Chair is going to order that the bill be recalled from enrolling. The Chair is also going to strike the enrollment order. And then this is where I'll need unanimous consent, or I'll need to suspend to do a reconsideration. The Chair is going to ask, without objection, that the body actually we bring the bill back before us. So the Chair is calling the bill back before us. That's Senate Bill 347. And this is on the third reading. The Chair is going to ask, without objection, that the House reconsider the third reading by which Senate Bill 347 was passed. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the Chair declares that the House has reconsidered the third reading of Senate Bill 347, so the bill would be before the body for third reading. The Chair is going to refer the bill to the Committee on Rules, Calendar, and Operations of the House. Representative Hall is recognized to send forth a committee report. The clerk will read.
Representative Hall, Redistricting Committee Report, Senate Bill 744, realign NC State Districts 2022, SCH 22-4, favorable.
Senate Bill 744 is added to this evening's calendar.
Senate Bill 745, realign Congressional Districts 2022, CST 22-3, favorable.
Senate Bill 745 is added to this evening's calendar. Senate Bill 744, clerk will read.
Senators Heiss, Newton, and Daniel. Senate Bill 744, bill to be entitled an act to realign the North Carolina Senate District pursuant to the order of the North Carolina Supreme Court with Harper versus Hall. General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
The gentleman from Caldwell, Representative Hall, is recognized to debate the bill.
Members, this is the State Senate's proposed map. I did not draw this map, and so I'm not sure how great I will be at answering specific questions about it, but I will say that the information I've been given is the mean median is within the Supreme Court's prescribed frame, and so is the efficiency gap, and so I would ask you to approve the bill.
Further discussion, further debate? If not, the question before the House is the passage of Senate Bill 744 on its second reading. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. The gentleman from Wayne, Representative Bell, the House Majority Leader, is recognized to announce the proxy votes of the Republican members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The following members have officially designated me to announce the vote on their behalf. Representative Clampett, aye. Representative McNeely, aye. Representative Moss, aye. Representative Riddell, aye. Representative Yarborough, no.
Representative Davis off the floor. Representative Kyle Hall here still. The gentleman from Chatham, Representative Reeves, the House Minority Leader, is recognized to announce the proxy votes of the Democratic members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the following members have authorized me to enter votes on their behalf. Representative Adcock, no. Representative Ager, no. Representative Alexander, no. Representative Brockman, no. Representative Everett, no. Representative Hunter, no. Representative Ensko, no. Representative Lucas, no. Representative Martin, no. Representative Richardson, no. Representative Terry, no. Representative Turner, no.
Members of the chair, saw Representative Kyle Hall, so I'd like to give just a minute since we're being flexible under the COVID rules for folks to come in. So we're going to hang tight. We'll give him an opportunity to record on the vote. And also Representative Quick. Is Representative Quick off the floor? Representative Reeves. I noticed Representative Quick has not voted. If you want to see if he's going to vote or not.
I'm going to see if I can find him because he was just outside.
Yeah, we'll hold it open there for a second. I see Representative Hall now. Good for you to show up. You can go. I'm holding it up for you, Representative Quick. Go ahead. I'm not sure where you and Representative Hall were, but I'm glad you came in. Clerk will lot machine record the vote. 67 having voted in the affirmative, 52 in the negative. Senate Bill 744 passes at second reading. Will be read a third time.
General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
Question for the House is the passage of Senate Bill 744 on its third reading. Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Senate Bill 744, having passed its third reading, is ordered enrolled. Senate Bill 745, the clerk will read.
Senators Heiss, Newton, and Daniels, Senate Bill 745, a bill to be entitled an act to realign the North Carolina Congressional District pursuant to the order of the North Carolina Supreme Court in Harper versus Hall. Johnson, North Carolina enact.
The gentleman from Caldwell, Representative Hall, is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the map before you was drawn to comply with the Supreme Court's order, and I believe it does comply with the Supreme Court's order. It contains what we believe will be 4 of the most highly competitive congressional districts in the country. According to a redistricting expert named Dave Wasserman, there have been only 19 congressional districts in the country drawn during this year's ongoing redistricting cycle, with an election result in the Biden-Trump 2020 race with a difference of less than 5%. So, only 19. The map that you have before you today will make North Carolina home to 4 additional highly competitive congressional districts. The map scores well within the ranges for measuring mean, median, and efficiency gap as announced by the Supreme Court in their opinion. No county in this map is split more than one time, and the map has 21 municipality splits that are not just a town that crosses county lines. So true municipality splits, there are only 21 across this entire congressional map. Members, I ask for your support.
The gentleman from Durham, Representative Hawkins, is recognized to send forth an amendment. The clerk will read.
Representative Hawkins moves to amend the bill.
The gentleman from Durham is recognized to debate the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that explanation. I'd like to put forth an amendment to change these maps to make them as we see more fair, because we believe that North Carolinians deserve free and fair elections. We've talked about that a lot, and what we saw that the North Carolina Supreme Court found is that the maps don't meet their standards truly, and so we believe that starting in the fall we were given an opportunity to right the wrongs of previous maps. But even in the ones that were just enacted by the Senate and committee and voted on in the Senate, they did not meet what we believe is a good, fair opportunity for North Carolinians. And so this amendment is one that we've consistently talked about since the fall, and so that shows our consistent approach and commitment to bipartisan fairness. But unfortunately, the map we are going to vote on, of course, falls completely short and requires what the court requires, and most importantly, it falls short of what North Carolinians deserve. I'm offering an amendment that would address these concerns and provide voters an opportunity to vote for candidates in elections, again, that are free and fair. This amendment, as analyzed by the Princeton Gerrymandering Project, it received a fairness grade of A. You just don't get much better than that. The Gerrymandering Project analysis found that this amended map would give a partisan advantage of 0%. Neither Democrats nor Republicans would benefit from the map that I'm proposing. Efficiency gaps, as you well may know, they measure how many wasted votes a district could produce, a measure of how stacked the deck for one party over the other a map is. An efficiency gap of more than 8 is considered a red flag. For this map that we're putting forth, it would have an efficiency gap of 5.8 that still favors Republicans, but falls well within the reasonable parameters. And so we believe that this is a 6-5 with 3 competitive seats. And so one thing that's also good about this amendment is that we were supposed to split voting districts only when necessary. My amended map would only split voter districts 14 times. We were also supposed to make an effort to draw compact districts, guided by the REOC and Posley-Popper scores. My amended map would score a 0.45 on the REOC metric. My amended map would score 0.36 on Posley-Popper. These indicate a more compact map, which would be our goal and should be everyone's goal in this assembly. We also wanted to have a map that preserves communities of interest. Those who are on the committee and probably those across this body know that that's something I'm personally passionate about, which this would do. As Representative Szoka talked about in committee, he pointed out in committee that we have to have these communities of interest together, such as Hoke and Cumberland. It goes past the stats, as he said, and talks about the people. Those people in those communities understand and commute and work in those areas, and they belong together, which this map accomplishes. This map would ensure that the Triad, one of the major areas that has brought in, I believe, 15,000 jobs recently and is a hub for activity, that it would stay together. Again, people work, live, and play across those areas. And this map would keep them together, and it would also create a true Sandhills district. Again, that is pretty consistent with what people across the state want. And so lastly, the upside, of course, of this map is that we have a chance to get this right so that we don't have to litigate throughout the decade. One thing that I know for sure with everyone in this body, especially those who've been around for a while, we want to do this once and for the decade. And so I hope that we can all stand on that premise of moving forward in that direction. We do not need to go through another round of costly litigation because if this amendment is moved forward, it will settle it and allow us to have, again, the maps that we want and ones that people expect of a body such as the North Carolina General Assembly. And then lastly, of course, this will remedy the issue of partisan gerrymandering in our congressional map. And of course, I ask you to vote yes. And so I hope that my explanation of this amendment is clear, and I hope that you will vote yes, because we all, at least in this body in the North Carolina House, know how to work together to solve big things, just as we did with our own maps yesterday. Thank you.
And if I would ask members, this is on the amendment at this point. If members have their lights on to debate the overall bill, if you'll turn those off, and then we will come back to you on the overall bill. The gentleman from Caldwell, Representative Hall, is recognized to debate the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'm going to ask you to oppose the amendment. The amendment would result in 5 more municipality splits across the map. Additionally, the map that I've put before you today, it has more competitive districts than the amendment would. So overall, it's a more competitive map, and I believe it better complies with the court's order, and therefore I would respectfully ask you to vote no on the amendment.
Further discussion, further debate on the amendment? If not, the question before the House is the adoption of Amendment A1, sent forward by Representative Hawkins. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. The gentleman from Wayne, Majority Leader, Representative Bell, is recognized to announce the proxy votes of the Republican member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The following members have officially designated me to announce a vote on their behalf. Representative Clampett, no. Representative McNeely, no. Representative Moss, no. Representative Riddell, no. Representative Yarborough, no. Thank you, sir.
The gentleman from Chatham, the House Minority Leader, Representative Reeves, is recognized to announce the proxy votes of the Democratic members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the following members have authorized me to enter votes on their behalf. Representative Adcock, yes. Representative Ager, aye. Representative Alexander, aye. Representative Brockman, aye. Representative Everett, aye. Representative Hunter, aye. Representative Ensko, aye. Representative Lucas, aye. Representative Martin, aye. Representative Richardson, aye. Representative Terry, aye. Representative Turner, aye.
The clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 51 having voted in the affirmative and 68 in the negative. The amendment is not adopted. We're now back on debate or discussion on the bill. The lady from Guilford, Representative Harrison, is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen in the House, I'm really not sure how this map is going to pass constitutional muster. And I will address first the Guilford County situation that Representative Hawkins alluded to. So I appreciate the fact, and I mentioned this in the committee, that Guilford's no longer split into 3 different congressional districts, but only 2. But these are very problematic splits because it splits Greensboro and Guilford County into 2 districts that are not at all aligned. The western part of the county goes down to Harnett. The eastern part of the county is going down to Cabarrus, running through Davidson and Rowan. We did not have a public hearing in Guilford, which I think was a major oversight back in the November draw. We were the biggest city that did not. Guilford County is the biggest county that did not have one. But what we heard in the committee meetings, the hearings that were held in Forsyth and in Alamance, and then after the map was drawn, about how important it was that the triad stay together. There's so many common interests amongst the 2 counties of Forsyth and Guilford. This map splits the 3 major municipalities in that 2-county cluster and puts them in 3 different congressional districts. So Winston-Salem and Forsyth are now heading out all the way to Ashland-Watauga. Greensboro is up in Rockingham down to Harnett, and High Point is running down to Cabarrus. This seems unacceptable to me, and I noticed a number of major municipal splits, and maybe there are fewer municipal splits, but they sure are split in the major municipalities in the state. There's also the other major splits are sorry, I'm going to need my glasses. Eyes are getting old. Excuse me. So you've got the fast-growing suburbs of Raleigh in southern Wake County. These are Apex, Holly Springs, Fuquay, Varina, and puts them in a district that stretches from Duplin County, extremely rural area with very different interests. The city of Cary is split. You've got Charlotte split in half of it staying wholly contained within Mecklenburg, but the other half in a district that stretches into Rutherford County where there are very different interests. The city of Greenville is split in half. Goldsboro is split in half. The Sand Hills is problematic. Representative Szoka mentioned this in committee. You've got Fort Bragg in 2 different congressional districts. You've got the Sand Hill district split into 2 different congressional districts. So I raised this issue in committee, and the response I got, was this meets the efficiency gap analysis and the mean median analysis, which are the 2 metrics of the multiple metrics that were offered by the Supreme Court to use in analyzing the competitiveness of districts. So I took advantage of the recess to get a crash course in metric analysis. And what I found out is that you can get very different results depending on what you use as data. And so I guess I have a question for the bill sponsor. He's managing the bill. He's not the bill sponsor, but maybe you can answer it if he would yield for a question, please.
Representative Hall, does the gentleman yield a question?
I yield.
He yields.
Thank you, and I hope I'm asking this right because I'm still sort of new to understanding the issue. But as I understand it, when you're using these analyses that it depends on what data you're using. And I'm just wondering, what data were you using when you were running these analyses?
So the data that we were using in running the analysis was an ensemble of 12 elections that were used by one of the plaintiff's own experts in the lawsuit, and that's one of the reasons we chose to use that, because again, it was the elections that the plaintiff's own expert decided to use.
Follow up?
I yield.
Gentleman yields for a follow-up question. He yields.
So you used those 12 races in all of your analyses, those 12 races? You didn't just use like one race in one of you used all 12 races in all of the analyses?
Representative Harrison, that's my understanding of how the various metrics were calculated, yes.
And if I could follow up and hopefully
Gentleman
last.
yield. He
I
yields.
yield.
And so was it the same DR split that the General Assembly was using, or?
Again, that is my understanding, yes.
Is there any way we can see this analysis?
I'm sorry. I apologize. I was talking about that.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask
He'll
for
keep
permission.
yielding. Go ahead. Just keep asking questions. It's fine. He'll tell me when he don't want to
I
answer
yield.
anymore. Just keep on. It's fine. Go
So,
ahead.
so Representative Harrison, I'm told it's in the stat pack that was handed out in committee, and it should be on your dashboard now.
I appreciate that. Thank you. If I could continue the debate.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you, and I'm close to being finished. So, well, I appreciate that this was represented as a potential 644 map. There are some that say that it's really a 10-4 map in a good GOP year. It looks like from my perspective, it's more like an 8-3-2 map, even in a good year for Democrats. I will say that David Wasserman, I appreciate Chair Hall mentioning him earlier in his debate, that he tweeted that this map is still quite a gerrymander. Using the 2020 statistics, it would be a 9-5 map, but likely 10-4 in 2022. 10-4. That's the same map that got the 10-4 split was a map that got struck down as a partisan gerrymander. He calls this map an extreme partisan gerrymander. I don't know how this passes court muster. I encourage you to vote no. Thank you.
The gentleman from Cumberland, Representative Szoka, is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to repeat some of what I said in committee for those of you who didn't have the opportunity to hear me. First of all, this map meets the requirements of the court. Based on that, I should vote for it. What I feel has happened, though, is that the judicial system has become enamored of statistics. We're not statistics. I don't say, welcome, Mr. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I call you by your name. Likewise, you call me John. We're trying to, I feel like we've gone down in Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole. We're in this land where things appear to be one thing and they end up being something else. I actually have a master's degree in applied statistics, so I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to statistics. Many of the complaints I've heard about this and the other maps have been about communities of interest. My biggest problem with this map is a community of interest in my community, Fort Bragg, the largest military installation in the world, over 53,000 active duty service members serving at Fort Bragg each and every day. And you had around 60,000 retirees around that with their spouses and dependents and everybody else. That is a very large community of interest. The counties, including Cumberland around us, have wanted for years to not be represented by more than one U.S. congressman. We've had up to 3 congressmen in the past, and they've all done a great job. Richard Hudson, Price, he did a good job, but the fact of the matter is that when you have a community of interest of hundreds of thousands of people centered around a military base, which is the main economic driver for that region of the state, there's a military term for it. It's called unity of command, one person in charge. We haven't had that unity of effort, that unity of command in the United States Congress. That's what I want. That's what the people in my county want. That's what people in my district want. Yet in this map, we don't see that. We have a map that's compliant with what the court wants, which is this fascination with statistics. Yet the people in my community aren't getting what they want because the court, in their big, and I'm not an attorney, but in their big decision said, well, you have to do all the polls to be popular, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do the other thing. And somehow this fascination with numbers translates to fairness. I don't believe that for an instant. I think it's a great case of showing judicial overreach and trying to take the humanness out of what we do. Look, I don't agree with everybody in here. Frequently I disagree with people on this side of the aisle. Frequently I disagree with people on that side of the aisle. Because we're human beings, we're not numbers. I'm not going to vote for this map, but it's not because it doesn't meet the court's criteria, because it does. I spent over 20 years in the Army serving my country. I came up here to serve my constituents. I came up here to serve Fort Bragg and those active duty soldiers who they live in Cumberland County and surrounding counties, but most of them vote other places for a variety of reasons. But I feel in my heart of hearts, I'm up here to represent them, to do the best that I can for the Fort Bragg community, the greater Fort Bragg community, as well as all the civilians, including myself now a civilian, who live in Cumberland County. My biggest gripe isn't the fact that the map meets the statistics. My biggest gripe is that we've been forced into a map which just doesn't relate to reality. It doesn't relate to my reality where I live, where the people I represent live. We're forced to this, and it's completely compliant. So you should vote for this map. I just can't. Thank you.
The gentleman from Robeson, Representative Graham, is recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I'll be brief. I just want to convey some of the same sentiments that's been heard today. But I think my constituents down in the Sandhills would be very disappointed if I didn't stand here and advocate for Sandhills to have representation that looks like the Sandhills. You know, for too long, the counties down in the Sandhills, and if you want to look at your map, you can figure that out, which is a diverse part of our state: white, black, American Indian, Hispanic, just a great cultural base down in that area. But you know what? For years, the Sandhills been sliced, diced, packed, to where we don't even understand, you know, well, who are we? What are we now in terms of the political arena? But I can tell you this. Folks down in Sandhills, they have good common sense. I'm not going to talk to you about statistics. I'm going to talk to you about the will of our people, not just my culture. I'm talking about the people in those rural communities want someone who can understand their need, understand their desires, understand the economy, understand the culture, and that's all they're asking for. And here again, we have an opportunity to do something good for the Sandhills of this state. You know, we're talking about farmers. We're talking about business owners who want a representative who can relate to their needs. And this does not do that. Now, this is common sense. You know, Sandhills has been split towards Charlotte. What does the Sandhills have in common with Charlotte? No disrespect for the folks in Charlotte. But now we're looking at Sandhills being split again, going up to Davidson County and Union County. I have no problems with those counties. Davidson's a beautiful county. Union County is a thriving county, and folks who represent that county do a good job representing them on this floor. But the Sandhills are the Sandhills. Farming communities, rural communities, hardworking people who want representation. You know, I had an understanding last evening that we were trying to move in that direction and giving the Sandhills respectability in terms of a region of our state. And then we come back here today, and I've just heard that, you know, we potentially could look at a 10-4 congressional makeup. Ladies and gentlemen, North Carolina is not a 10-4 state. We are a purple state. Last night it was 7-5-2. Now it's 10-4. I don't know where we get that math from, but it's not fair to the Sandhills. You know, folks don't worry about this constitutional stuff that we're talking about up here. They worry about those core values, family issues. Forget the Constitution when it comes to the farmer out there working on the farm or the person working in that factory trying to make ends meet. They want someone that they can trust and someone that can represent them in a meaningful way. We have hardly, and we've just talked about this, no community of interest, neighborhoods of interest, or counties of interest that's clustered together. So, over the years, and this is my second time going through redistricting, we've seen what we've gone through the past 10 years, court battle, disagreements over the years. We know what unites us. Our cultures unite us. Our interests unite us. And what we have before us today is very disrespectful to the Sandhills portion of our state. It's like you're irrelevant. You don't matter. We'd rather have you cracked and packed and sent in different directions. So I'm not going to support this. One of the reasons, another thing that's very important to me is my culture and having someone that's going to fight in Washington for Lumbee recognition. For 125 years we've been fighting and getting lip service. And I think it's time for that to end. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sandhills has voted historically for Republicans and Democrats. I'm standing here as a Democrat in my district, Robeson County. Donald Trump won my district. I won my district. And some of your other representatives here, some of your constituents voted for Obama, but then they turned around and voted for you. I'll call out my good friend here, Representative Pierce, over in Scotland County. Folks in Scotland County and Hope County voted for him, but voted for Senator Tillis. So, our folks know and understand how to cast a vote. And I think it's unfair that we would stand here today breaking up our communities of interest, and that's not good for our state. It's not good for our communities. And I would say to you, let's go back to the drawing table. Let's do this over. We should do that. We should do that because rural communities understand rural communities. People understand each other. And I would ask you, let's not support this. It's not fair. It does the Sandhills communities an injustice. And I think we deserve better than that. And I think the will of the people needs to be heard today. And this is not the will of the people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion, further debate? If not, the question for the House is the passage of Senate Bill 745 on its second reading. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. Clerk will open the vote. The gentleman from Wayne, Representative Bell, the House Majority Leader, is recognized to announce the proxy votes of the Republican members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The following members have officially designated me to announce a vote on their behalf. Representative Clampett, aye. Representative McNeely, aye. Representative Moss, aye. Representative Riddell, aye. Representative Yarborough, aye. Thank you, sir.
The gentleman from Chatham, Representative Reeves, the House Minority Leader, is recognized to announce the proxy votes of the Democratic members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following members have allowed me to enter votes on their behalf. Representative Adcock, no. Representative Ager, no. Representative Alexander, no. Representative Brockman, no. Representative Everett, no. Representative Hunter, no. Representative Ensko, no. Representative Lucas, no. Representative Martin, no. Representative Richardson, no. Representative Terry, no. Representative Turner, no.
The clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 66 having voted in the affirmative and 53 in the negative. Senate Bill 745 passes second reading and will be read a third time.
General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
The question before the House is the passage of Senate Bill 745 on its third reading. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Senate Bill 745, having passed its third reading, is ordered and rolled. Stand at ease momentarily. I want to take a moment. The staff's not here, but the body would give me a few moments. I think it's appropriate to recognize, well, I see Erica back. I see a couple back in the back. I just want to tell you the hours and hours of work that our central staff, the clerk's office, of course, the sergeant at arms, but our central staff have been putting in, working through this process, both in the first round and then this latest round, under a very tight deadline that we were given to work through that, to really undertake to have a process that went before us. And I would submit that whether you voted for the maps or not or liked them, you got to respect the hardworking staff that we had who put the hours in to do this. I would ask my colleagues to join me in showing our appreciation to our staff for their hard work. So we have concluded our business at this time. It is and so now in terms of the process, these maps will be submitted to the court tomorrow, well in time for the deadline that was put in place. And the chair is informed by all of the by staff and by the individuals that all the maps have scored and met the criteria that the court laid out. So those will all be put in. So we'll be awaiting any response there. But we will remain in session, but I don't know of anything that would be calendared for next week. We'll go back to the same process where if it does appear that this General Assembly needs to take up any action, that we give sufficient notice for everyone. But frankly, I don't see anything happening next week. But we're in sort of some new territory here, folks. So we'll just have to see what happens. But that's the plan. So there's no more business to do this evening or this week. But we will, and we'll see where we are next week. But I do want to thank every member of this House. I know that this process has been, the hours have been long here. The process is tough. It can be very tedious, and inherently these can be difficult subjects to discuss. And I certainly want to thank members on both sides of the aisle for the candor and the ability to disagree without being disagreeable when that was, but to work together. And I'm extremely proud of the way that the State House maps passed on a strong bipartisan basis yesterday. But just very proud of all the members of this House and this General Assembly. And I just want to each and every one of you to know that I appreciate what you do and your service to the state of North Carolina. So with that, we'll go to notices and announcements. If the body would please come to order. We have some notices and announcements. For what purpose does the gentleman from Orange, Representative Meyer, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an inquiry of the chair.
Gentleman's recognized.
So you talked about the schedule for next week, but whenever the 2021 long session does come to an end, we will have to return for a vote on an adjournment resolution. Is that correct?
We will.
And do you have any anticipation, Mr. Chair, of when that might be and what type of break we have, or when we might start the short session?
Not soon enough on the adjournment resolution. And I maybe next week, maybe the following week. We'll just have to see. We need to let the court process run its course. So that's really the only thing.
Last inquiry then.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair. And what about short session?
I'm sorry?
And when do you think we would start short session?
Good question. We haven't determined that. It just, we're where we are. And this little historical trivia here, to my knowledge, this is the first time in the history of the state of North Carolina that the General Assembly literally rolled out a 1 year into the next year while still in its long session. So that's one more for the books there, right? So, yeah. But that's hopefully soon. We'll get past this, the redistricting litigation, and hopefully we can adjourn. For what purpose does the lady from Mecklenburg, Representative Cunningham, rise?
Inquiry of the chair.
Ladies recognized.
I was going to reference to Representative Lambert about our meeting scheduled for tomorrow. You said no business for the rest of the week, so I was wondering about that committee meeting.
It'll be clear. No votes on the House floor. Any oversight committees that are scheduled are certainly free to meet. We did instruct some of the oversight committees that were meeting earlier this week and some last week to suspend their meetings just because of the strain on having the staff. Because a lot of the staff who handled the redistricting were some of the ones who handled some of the health policy issues. So that has been done. But so I guess there may still be a meeting tomorrow. I'll let Representative Lambeth be an appropriate time for the gentleman to make an announcement about any meetings this week.
Yeah, we'll verify that there will be the Access Committee meeting tomorrow. We are checking, though, to see if we can do WebEx. I will try to let the committee know soon. I'm waiting on Senator Krawick to give me the okay. I've approved it. It is a little different than we thought, so we thought WebEx might work for some of you that's got to travel. So we're going to see if that will work. I've not heard from her. It actually is going to be a very exciting meeting tomorrow. We've got the National Conference of State Legislators coming in. They're flying in. They're spending the night with us here tonight, and then they're going to talk about what's going on around the country and how North Carolina compares. We've got several excellent speakers lined up for the next few meetings. So I think anybody that would actually, particularly if we get WebEx, if anybody would like to, check in on it, come visit with us tomorrow. I think you'll really appreciate the information that we prepared. We hope to be out of here no later than 1, but it is scheduled from 10 to 1 in our usual 643 room.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Robeson, Representative Graham, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And a question for Representative Lambert.
Representative Lambert, the gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You mentioned WebEx, and I'm just wondering if we can have that information within the next 45 minutes to an hour, because, of course, we do have some travel plans if that's the case.
We'll try to get it as quick as possible. We've got a couple people calling her to try to find out if she's okay with it. I've approved it, but since she's the co-chair, we need to get her approval as well. But we'll get it out as soon as we can.
Thank you.
For what purpose the gentleman from Chatham, Representative Reeves, rise?
For a point of personal privilege.
The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just also wanted to extend the thanks to staff for everything this week. This has been a hard, long week, and I want to particularly say thank you to House leadership, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Rules Chair, Mr. Majority Leader. We were around each other a whole lot this week. This could have been a contentious week. I think we've seen that some people have had contentious week, but not in this chamber, and so we're glad of that. But that also means that we should be thanking both of our caucuses, because that really helps whenever your leadership is having to meet like this, having to contact you guys, because I know that your leadership was having to come back to you and talk to you about changes we were talking about and things we were doing. I know I've had to go back to my caucuses and talk about these things, and all of you folk here are why we were able to come to, I think historic might be a little bit too much, but I mean to come to an agreement that was not expected by a lot of people. And it really was appreciated how everybody's conducted themselves, how we've conducted debate during this time. I hope we continue this for the rest of the year. I really do. So I just wanted to thank you to everybody, and there's staff that's left. Thanks, staff. So thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Representative Reeves. Any further notices or announcements?
Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Gaston, Representative Torbett, rise?
Question of Representative or Minority Leader Reeves.
Gentleman yield.
I'm probably going to regret. I mean, yes, I
He
yield.
yields. Did you say you hope that this continues for the rest of this year?
Oh, yeah, because session is going to continue for the rest of the year, so I hope the congeniality does too. Thank you.
On that note, the gentleman from Caldwell, Representative Hall, is recognized for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House do now adjourn to reconvene Friday, February 18th at 9:45 a.m., subject to the standard stipulations set forth in Rule 15.1.
Representative Hall moves, seconded by Representative Bell, that the House do now adjourn to reconvene Friday, February the 18th at 10 a.m., subject to the standard stipulations set forth in Rule 15.1. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the House stands adjourned.